see how people can even argue with it. This isn't. I mean, you got a tree there that was bent over. That forms like the frame. So I mean, it wouldn't be hard for them to do something like that. Bend a tree or two over as a frame, and just let nature take its course after that. Let the briars and vines just climb all over this stuff. And all you gotta do is keep it hollowed out down in there. You got your nice little place to hide out. And this kind of thing, man, you know, it's a stump sitting there for sure. But I've seen them hide themselves by blending in with what's there. So I'm gonna video this real close, just in case there's a guy hiding there that I can't see. I can get back to the house and put this on the computer. I think I might just jump out at you. And another little hut-looking thing here. Well, I could walk up here to the field and take the easy way. But there's nothing interesting to video up there. So I'll come back through here. And you know, I've said it before, you don't really have to hide from these guys. You can't really hide from these guys, I don't think, when you're out in the woods. They know you're there. It's just a matter of them feeling comfortable enough with you to just hang around there where you're at. You know, and a lot of Bigfoot purists will say, you know, first of all, they wouldn't believe there was a Sasquatch in a place like this, or a forest being, whatever you want to, you know, call them. Some are Sasquatch, and some are other beings of various sizes. And that's something that hadn't been defined very well, you know, just exactly which ones are the Sasquatches, and what are some of these other beings. It's something I struggle with myself, because you know, myself, I feel like there are three main types of Sasquatch. There are these guys that really do look like, you know, they're close to apes, and they're the biggest ones. They're big brutes. And then you got these guys that look like cavemen, kind of. And frequently they have really long hair on their head, and long beards, long shaggy beards, and they look human, more human than the bigger bigger ape-looking ones. Then you got these other ones that are like somewhere between these other two. They look like a mix of the human type and the ape type. And they have a pretty wide range of looks too. And then there are these beings that I see in a lot of videos that are really hairless on their face. And they have hair on their head. And I'm not real sure about the body. I think the bodies are hairy. But their faces are really, really hairless. No beard or mustache most of the time. And they don't look as big as the Sasquatch. They look like they're 5 or 6 feet tall, like us kind of. And I wouldn't really call them a Sasquatch. Sasquatch to me has got to be tall and hairy. Ape or human-like. He's got to be tall and hairy to be a Sasquatch. Anything else, and you know, I mean, of course you got the young ones that aren't going to be, you know, huge monsters like the adults. But there are all kinds of other beings. And then some of them resemble, you know, Sasquatch, just smaller. And some of those may be the young. But often, I don't think they're young. I think there's something else. You know, there's other beings around here that look a lot like a Sasquatch, just smaller. You know, and again, how do you categorize them? I don't know. You know, the best names that I know for them are the old European names. You know, the trolls, gnomes, elves, brownies. You know, of course, the Indians, the Native American tribes have names for them. But the problem is that, you know, there were 1,000 different tribes and they all had a different name. So settling on one name to define a being is tough. I got a friend on Facebook, Troy Meacham, and he calls them Mechanites after him. And I guess that's as good a name as anything for them. Even though you sure cover a lot of territory by just calling them Mechanites, because there are a bunch of different kinds of these little guys. And they're always in Sasquatch videos. I mean, people, man, when you watch a video, pause that thing every once in a while, man, and zoom in and look, man. You got beings that are trying to hide from you, and you're trying to just watch at regular speed and think you're going to see anything? Give me a break, man. You know, you got to study films, videos, to try to see these guys. You know, if you really want to see them, you know, I mean, I don't know, people are just freaking lazy. They want somebody to give them, you know, pictures, and then if we don't give them the pictures they want, you know, they rag us out, and, you know, I catch more goddamn shit from people for trying to share with them, you know, the beings that I'm seeing in people's videos and in my own. And you wouldn't believe the abuse people heap on me for doing that. Because it's not what they think these guys are supposed to be. Well, I'll tell you what, man, start watching the videos yourself and then see what you think. If you freeze frame videos and start looking through the frame, a frame at a time, and searching those videos, you will find the same things I'm showing you. And it gets a lot harder to just say, oh, that ain't nothing but pareidolia, you know, when you find them yourself. And you guys that ain't looking for yourselves and just criticizing everybody else, just shut the fuck up, man. We don't care what you think. You can't sit there in your chair and tell me what a Sasquatch are. Kiss my ass. I'm out here every day. Well, not every day, but I'm out here all the time, and every day I am watching videos, studying these guys to learn about them. And then some dumbass comes along and tells me that I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. You know, screw you. You know, you get out here and video your own and then start looking at it, and you change your mind quick about what's really going on here. And, you know, all the big shot names, none of them are doing this. None of them are doing it. You know, they run their mouths about 50-year-old theories that no one's been able to prove because they're not true. And then they talk down to everybody that's out there actually researching and saying that the things we're catching ain't nothing but you know, trees and leaves. Well, you know what? We're videoing beings that are hiding, you hear that, in the trees and leaves. So yeah, we get a lot of trees and leaves, you dumbasses, because you know what? That's where the Sasquatch are. They're down there in the middle of that. They're not standing out here in the open. You know, do you see one? You know, very seldom you ever see one standing out in the open. That's what everybody wants Patty. Wants to see Patty standing out in the open. That was a fluke, people. That was a fluke. That's why it hadn't happened since then. You want to see Sasquatch? You got to stop the video and look in where the leaves and trees are, because that's where they're hiding. You know, I've got some video from a zoo of the gorillas at the zoo doing the same exact thing that Sasquatch do, hiding in that brush. And those pictures were taken with a professional still camera and zoomed in on them, and you can barely tell what the hell you're looking at. But without a doubt, there's a gorilla there, because the people watched it go in there and watched it come out. But while it was back there in the brush peeking out, you could not tell. All you could see was the same sort of thing you see in these Sasquatch videos. These guys peeking out, part of their face, most of the body's usually hidden. But I challenge you, go out there and shoot your own videos before you jump in here and try to tell somebody that's out there doing it themselves what's going on. You can't sit there in your chair at home and watching videos in real time, not pausing them and studying them and looking, and get any real idea of what's going on. You can't do it. And even better yet, get your butt off the chair and go outside and video your own. First of all, study the videos. Don't just glance. And go video your own and then look at the video before you decide that there's nothing to this. How can you say there's nothing to something without ever looking at it and giving it a fair shake, a fair try? That's the height of ignorance, is to say something ain't real without ever examining it to see if there's anything to it. What's it going to cost you? Nothing, a little bit of your time. And you know what, you might just find out that what you've been looking for all these years has been right there in front of your face. That's what happened to me. I saw one of these guys 20 years ago, and I actually saw him. I don't know why that happens sometimes, but it did. Scared the hell out of me. I wasn't into Sasquatch then, and it scared me. And I used to go caving a lot then over in Tennessee, and we would see signs of something making beds in caves. Now I think it was Sasquatch, but at the time I didn't know what to think. But anyway, years later I get into Sasquatch, and then I start to find out what the real deal is. What happened to me in Tennessee that first time was a fluke too. They don't usually just let you see them in the open like that. But even then, the being I saw, hard to explain. He was there and he was real, but there was a sense of unreality about him too, as if he didn't exist the same way I did. And that's hard to explain, but it didn't look like when you see a cow or a deer or a bear or whatever, it has a certain feel when you're looking at that. And this guy had a completely different feel. And this guy took 2 steps from where I spotted him by a pond into the woods, and then went from the bottom of the hill to the top of the ridge up there. I mean, it was 300 feet steep, and he did it in 10 seconds. It sounded like like the Bionic Man going up through there. Just he was taking huge leaps. I couldn't actually see him anymore, but I could hear him taking huge leaps and grabbing onto trees, and you could see the tree tops shaking and hear it and crashing. And man, he was up at the top of that ridge in no time, and then just dead quiet. Not a thing after that. It scared me to death. I thought, man, if that thing came after me, there ain't no way I could have got away from it. But now, looking back, I know a lot more about these guys, and I think, man, I wish I'd known now what I knew then. Wish I'd had a video camera with me, because they're never alone. So, I mean, that guy that was there, he was running off, making all that noise, I'm sure, to distract me, just like Patty was doing, to distract me. That may be why I saw him, come to think of it. And there may have been a lot of others of his family around and friends, and he was the one that, took it on himself to distract me, while the others, uncloaked or hid or moved away. You know, and I think it's exactly what happened with Patty. Those guys stumbled up on her, and Patty stayed visible to lead them away from the rest of her family that were hiding around there in the brush. There are people that have gone on YouTube and spotted the others hiding. It's not easy to see because it was grainy footage, and you know, they weren't focusing in on the background, which is the problem in a lot of these videos. You know, people are not focused in on the Sasquatch because you don't see them. So very seldom, you know, unless you're like me, just stop when you're videoing and zoom in. Just act like he's there, and just let the camera focus on it. And that's the only way you're gonna get focused on these guys. But most of these people just walk around in the woods, giving you this kind of video, blurry, blurry, blurry. You can't see a friggin' thing. You got to move real slow. And there are some people out there that are doing really good with the cameras. Eric Douglas, Jill Smith, and, oh God, there's all kinds. Joe Delgallo, Mitchell Waite does a great job. And then there are some of these guys that you know, after years and years, their camera technique has improved not one iota. And it's actually painful for me to watch their videos, because I'm just sitting there going, please just stop and give me a chance to look with a still focused shot at something. But I think some of these guys are more interested in showing you their ginormous ego than they are at showing you any Sasquatch. You know, then you can tell who thinks they're the star of the video versus who's actually trying to show you these Sasquatch. I get a little aggravated sometimes because there's a lot of these people that, you know, they've got the Sasquatch and forest beings are in their videos, man. But these guys are so busy videoing themselves and moving around, you know, through the forest too fast, not stopping and pausing and looking. You know, they just don't get good video. And I'm gonna tell you what, man. Once you get in an area where the Sasquatch are, you're better off to do like I'm doing right now. Just sit the heck down, man, and video. You know, I'm not saying that every time they're gonna be all around you, man, but often they are. And if you just sit down and video, you know, I'm going a little bit long in this one spot here, but I'm trying to teach you something, learn you something from somebody that watches videos all the time and can tell you how to make them better. If people would just slow down and video more, you know, let the camera focus, spend a little time on an area, zoom in, zoom out. You know, don't rush it, and don't be in such a hurry to, you know, walk, you know, 5 miles through the forest, man. You're not going to get any better footage walking 5 miles through the forest than you are just sticking to a smaller area and videoing more intensely and more thoroughly. You know, you might show a whole lot more habitat, which is cool. You know, I mean, there's a role for that too. But I get so aggravated with some of these guys, man, that you know, I can see the Sasquatch all around them, but they're moving the camera so fast that they're just blurs. You know, and then you capture it, and you capture a blur, and then, you know, people talk shit about it. Oh, look how out of focus that is. Well, you know, blame it on the guys videoing, man. You know, it ain't the people capturing. I can't capture. The only thing I capture is what's on the video. You know, if the person videoing's doing a good job, I get good captures. If the person videoing, moving the camera all around, I get blurry crap. But I'm gonna get it anyway because a real scientist, a real person studying these guys, looks at all evidence, man, and a blurry picture of a Sasquatch is still a freaking Sasquatch, man. People's the way people don't respect that just amazes me, man. You got one of the most amazing beings on the planet there in pictures, and people are complaining because it ain't perfectly focused. You know, get over yourself, man. You know, if you want focused pictures, get the heck out there and video them yourself. You know, show us how it's done. instead of running your mouth. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to do. Anyway, here's the gate from yesterday. I'm gonna set up some snacks, and I brought a few toys. I brought them a, what is it? Oh, there we go. Brought them a Beanie Baby and a little California raisin. And I'm gonna put some chocolate cookies I got here and put some peanut butter on them and set them up here on these branches on the tree, up high where it's more likely that it won't be a critter getting them. And, you know, but you never know. I mean, hell, most of the time I just about figure I'm feeding the coons and foxes and you know, little beings, and they're running in here as soon as I leave them, going, eating everything up. Anyway, I'm gonna cut it off and set out some gifts for these guys. And thanks for letting me walk back in here and disturb their home here. I hope they don't mind. I don't think they did, because the ones I was able to capture on from yesterday's footage they didn't look hostile. There were no teeth baring, no snarls, and believe you me, in some videos I do absolutely see Bigfoot and Sasquatch and forest beings that are snarling mad to have the people where they're at. Snarling at them, baring teeth, not happy at all that they're there. You just got to give these guys a little respect. And you know, before I came down here, I told them I was going to come down here mentally. I believe they hear you. Whatever you think, whatever you want, but I believe it, and I believe they've been leading me, you know, into these areas. You know, there's nothing I can point my finger to. You just have to either believe it or you accept it or you don't. Whatever floats your boat. Anyway, let me give these guys some gifts, and I'll walk down to a different area and shoot some more video of a little different spot. See what else I can find. Goodbye.